I'm Uncle Mark, and I'm just helping a buddy work on his, I think it's a 2008 GMC Acadia. Rear shocks need replacing. This one's not too bad. The others are worse. So let's get to that step by step. Probably the same on the Chevy Traverse. So this is what this one looks like. So let's get right into the garage and get at the back wheel. Little place here that this cover will come off so we can access the lug nuts. We're on the driver's side. We're going to do that one first. We're going to jack. There's a subframe there. You see this mount, this round mount right here. So we're going to use our floor jack and just go in the middle of it. And it'll be nice. It won't slip off. It's a good spot to jack. You don't have to worry about rust or something, because these will be pretty solid.
Yeah, I think it's.
If you can't jack up on this, I'll have to center it. You probably shouldn't be putting shocks in your vehicle, because if that's all rotted out, your vehicle's not safe to be on the road. So I'm just going to jack it up a little bit and loosen the lug nuts. They're 21 millimeter, I believe. Get the wheel out of the way. You know how to do that. And there's the shock right there. It's just basically 2 bolts, top and bottom. I'm going to pre-soak them with some penetrating fluid. Let them sit for a couple minutes. You could, if you have access, you could maybe wire wheel them. Might clean them up a little bit too. Just you could do both. I'm just going to soak them. 18 millimeter wrench on the front part. The 15 goes on the one facing the back. It's weird that they have the 2 like that, but that's how it works. So I guess it makes it easy if you don't have 2 of one size. Passenger side's a little easier because you can knock this one down. We'll be loosening it. But on this side, we've got to knock it up. I guess we could try the bolt side. I just didn't know if it might be seized inside this unit or not. So it did free up pretty good. And these are original shocks, and we're 2024, middle of the year.
A little bit.
So it's old. It's done pretty good. The other shock we found was really bad. It had been leaking a long time. This one looks like it's just a teeny bit.
Yeah.
But may as well do them. You always do them in pairs. So once we got it going here, it came off pretty easy. Well, easy being we had a hammer to try and do that in a little soaking. Now, my buddy was like, well, why don't we just get a big pipe or something and it'll come off. And I was worried that we might twist the bolt. I've had that happen where they're just so tight in there that you twist it off. So I said I'd rather tap it and hopefully smack it around and like break loose whatever there is there. Figured that we won't twist it just with our hands. So that's what we did. And then we put a jack under the control arm. Tried to find a good spot for it. Put it under there that it won't slide off. The reason for this is, figure when we get the shock out, the control arm's going to want to fall. So this is a shot from the back again. We're going to try and get this lower bolt and nut off. Lots of spraying.
Really?
Actually, it was the nut and bolt. Really? They're both the same size, 21 millimeter. But I couldn't find my second 21 millimeter wrench, so we're going to use a crescent wrench, monkey wrench, whatever you want to call it, for one side for now, and try and free it up. It looks like the whole thing's spinning here.
I don't even know if it's even moving.
That's okay. But at least you know what size. You're actually going to need a 21 millimeter socket when we go to torque the bolt back on. So there's a torque spec for it. So I took the jack out from under the control arm and I was using it to get this bolt to turn with this wrench. And it did turn it. So we were trying to, get ahead of the game. Sometimes and you can see it wants to turn back. So something is kind of binding inside there a little bit, but I figure I'm going to give it some time. Okay, focus.
Yeah.
So I tried the other side of it, which not as good of a bite because you only have 2 sides of the bolt, but thought we had a little more room. The vehicle was almost not high enough off the ground. So once we got the whole thing to kind of move a little bit, we were able to work on both sides, get our wrenches out again. Once we saw the bolts moving from the other side.
Yeah.
We're looking at it from the back, by the way.
Which way you're going?
We got this crescent wrench on this side. Got to do what you can, right? It may not be ideal, but then I thought, well, we'll just let this lean against whatever it wants to, and it can hold the nut. If you understand what I'm saying. So he's turning the bolt on the other side. We're loosening it, and just because we didn't have enough strength really to break it free, but once he got to turn the bolt on the one side there, the ground is actually holding the crescent wrench from moving. You really give it a lot of energy.
You can take
Torque.
a break too, you know.
Leverage, that's the word. I knew I'd get it eventually. He's pulling pretty hard.
For me, I'm fine.
What does that mean?
I'm not.
I almost think that's me.
So like my back and
Why?
shoulder and everything, it's
No,
it
it
can
can't
be-
be
I can
because
be-
I'm recording.
lifting 200
No.
pounds and be fine. And then
So let's get back to what we're doing here. It took a little bit of work. Jack back under the control arm again. And the reason I want to hold the control arm is because eventually when you get the shock out, the control arm is just going to want to fall. You don't want the spring coming out. Actually, there's you've got your brake hose as well that's attached, and that's only so long, and it's not long enough for the suspension to drop too far. So you got to make sure of that, and we'll show you in a couple minutes here that we had that brake hose stretched almost too far. So we got the nut off of this side. It's hard to see. Hopefully it'll focus again. And I guess you could give it a tap. He was turning it. I guess maybe we could put a little less pressure on the control arm or a little more pressure to get it to come out. But it seemed like it was fine just to turn it. So
clear this jack. Oh, well, as long
we weren't in a hurry. We were already tired by this time, right? A couple of old guys trying to get this bolt out.
Should.
Anyway, it's just about out. He's gonna give it a couple little taps. And I think it's out. Washers on both sides. You want to keep that in mind as well.
That's fine.
And it should come off of that side. Let's look at the top here again, and you'll see. Okay, so we're going to work on this top bolt again. The nut's just barely hanging on there.
Should be very close, huh?
And what we found is once you got that off, the way the bolt has to come out, it's got to exit the back, like towards the back bumper. Your brake hose is kind of in the way just a little bit. And then this one too is just have to tap it a few times, and there's the hose. You don't want to stress that hose too much. So I'm just raise the control arm a little bit with my jack.
Here, let me lift this up a little bit here.
People works not too bad if you're very careful. Just enough so the bolts can go under it.
Sorry. Is that gonna clear it?
Again, want to take it easy on that brake hose because it's just rubber. You could
That's
rip
another
it.
reason you don't want to drop it too far, because you'll rip that.
But now we see why you want a jack under there.
Shouldn't
Yeah.
Now this, I wasn't sure how it was held in, but so I didn't look at the new shock. He had bought them. I thought, are these extensions here going to fall out? But they're actually part of the shock. Again, we need the big hammer. I should give my hammer a name like some of those guys do. And there you go.
Do the new ones look
It's
like
out.
that?
This was the good shock.
Yeah.
This one probably could have lasted a while yet.
Yeah.
So we just have to reverse the order now. Here's the new one. The bottom only goes in one way.
So it's gonna, yeah. It's gonna go into
It's
that.
got a bevel, or you'll see the way this side is here.
Go into that hole there.
And that's because it actually has a hole it kind of goes into. So you'll note that when you start putting it back in, hopefully. So let's set this one back in where it belongs. A little bit of tapping and moving it around. Bolt goes back in. Brake hose is kind of in the way again. Gotta take it easy on the brake hose.
Easier said than done.
Not too much stressing.
You're gonna be a
I'm
shock
stressing on
expert.
it. I probably could have tapped it in a little bit more. But I figured, well, we're letting him do it. He's learning along the way. Which is good, because that's how we all learn, right? Just got to try it. And then get some kind of rhythm going here where you get
Probably at least
twice as much action out of every turn. So we snugged that up, or tried to get it a little bit snug. Then I figured, let's do the bottom. Get this bolt back in.
Yeah, I'm
I
thinking
can
it's
use
just
two jacks. Jack stand would be good. Yeah, I know I didn't put a jack stand under this vehicle, which not the smartest, but then you have to be careful where you put that jack to, or the, jack stand. A lot of times you're worried it's going to slip off. This one won't slip off of that mount. Shouldn't, if it's on there properly. But again, what's the jack holding on with? Some 10-cent little piece of O-ring, rubber O-ring. It's holding all the pressure of the vehicle. So we went back and forth trying to tighten this bottom one. The torque spec is about 74 foot-pounds for the bottom. They'd like stress on it, and then they want you to go another 90 degrees. I'm not really sure why. I've seen some guys that just do the 74 foot-pounds. I have had not any experience on this one. Not really sure why they're doing the extra there when they're not torque to yield bolts. The top is just 52 foot-pounds, and that's it. So make sure your torque wrench is working good and can do that low amount. Sometimes it might be just a little too low for it to be accurate, if that makes sense. I had a second torque wrench, so I actually got one out. Then I'm going to put some nickel anti-seize. The nickel is good for dissimilar metals because we've got steel and then we've got aluminum rim. So they actually, it's not really, well, they kind of corrode together. So I'm just putting some on the rim. And next time, if he has to take this off, you get a flat or something like that, wheel will come off nice and easy instead of trying to hammer it off. I'm going to sit it on there. Might have to jack the vehicle up just a little bit more because it might be a little too low. And I'm just going to set the wheel just on the ground, just enough so it doesn't spin. And I'm going to just slowly, I'm not going to torque all the bolts right to the spec. I'm just going to snug them up and then maybe go a couple different steps. But it's good to have a torque wrench, I tell you. Now these are supposed to go to 140 foot-pounds, the final pass. And this is the sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's basically crisscross. You do that, should be good. Now we just need to put that center hub back on. You can give me the thumbs up if you want, that wouldn't hurt as well. You've enjoyed this. This only goes on one way, by the way. So remember that. I've started a repair playlist on this vehicle. Top right corner, there's a card there. You click on it, it'll bring you to the playlist for this vehicle. Of course, check the channel out as well. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. It's been nice spending a little bit of time with you.